craft room. Today I've got another video in the tutorial series I'm doing for this Art Impressions Christmas journal. Let's take a quick look at it. I've gotten several pages done. It includes this little pocket card and several different images, and I'm using all of the art impression dies in the template die set that is new, as well as images that are from the Art Impressions catalog, various stamps and dies, and this is what I'm using to put together this adorable book. So far I've gotten the pages done that you see here, and today I'm going to do 3 more pages for you. It's going to go here, here, and here. So let's take a look at what I'm going to be using today. First of all and foremost, we have the new Watercolor Journal template die set. There's a tremendous amount of dies in that for this journal. Here are the 2 stamp sets I'm using, the little mouse sitting in the ornament, this little tree, and then I'm going to be using the Santa. And all of these products again will be noted in my video description. Also included is the large snowflake set, and I'm going to be using this paper from Graphic 45, but you can use any paper, of course. I just prefer double-sided paper. That'd be my tip for you on whatever paper that you might choose to work with. So speaking of paper, there was a page in this paper pad that had various collaged images. I saw this one and I thought it would be perfect at the top of this page. So in this case, I'm kind of letting the paper do a bit of the work for one of the pages. And that's always a good technique for speeding your work along. I'm going to include a pocket, and this was the die that I used. It's from, of course, the template set. And then this is one of the snowflakes from the snowflake die set. I actually made 3 of these that I'll show you in a moment, but I did apply the first one there. And the die, when you cut it, does put in some fold lines for the 3 sides of the pocket, so it makes it very easy to fold it over and then glue it into wherever you want to put it. Here's a gift card that I'm going to show you. It's going to cover some of that image up, but that's okay. It kind of is a surprise then when the card is pulled out. You can see the image below. And then I'm going to add those other 2 snowflakes that I mentioned. These are also in that snowflake set, which, by the way, is a fantastic little set because there's so many different sizes and shapes in it, and they're beautiful. They're all different, just like real snowflakes, which is really neat. But if you can't find a snowflake you like in that set, I don't know what we can do for you. It's just a lot to choose from there. All right, so I've got a couple other pieces that I'm going to add. This is the button from the template die set. Isn't that cute? I put a little bit of embroidery floss through that, and then I mounted it on top of that circle, which I also cut out. And there is the die for the heart. And I'm going to combine these together by just putting a little bit of glue on the left side of the heart and slipping it underneath the base piece and the button. And it just gives a little bit of a collage image there. And I hated to cover up the 2 little children in the background here, but I'm going to do so because I wanted to add a little bit more dimension to this page. And I think these 2 pieces, or 3 pieces actually, just are the right touch. And they still show when I put in my card. So that's a very quick and easy page there to start us off. Next, I'm going to start coloring the images I'm going to use on the other pages. And I have 2 inks that I tend to use, the contour ink and the gray flannel memento ink. I prefer the grays over the dark black. And even when I'm using the gray like this, I am going to stamp it off a little bit to begin with, so it's not quite as harsh. It's still a fairly dark gray, and I really just need enough to show me where to color, but not so much that I want to see those harsh lines. And this can help you get more of a no-line coloring effect, which makes it look a little bit more like watercolor as well, because that's how watercolor is. You don't see lines necessarily of everything. It just sort of all blends as if you've painted it on that way. So you can see me here. I'm just lightly touching the paper. I had a little trouble with getting the center one for whatever reason, so I did have the two on the sides well stamped, so I'm just going to take those off and do the center one and lightly touch it, and that's all that's needed. So now I've got a dark enough impression that I can see it to color, but it's not so dark that it's going to be, again, really harsh with these black lines that a normal black ink provides. Totally up to you though, that's just my preference. All right, so let's start coloring. This is the fun part, right? So I'm going to use E11 for the face of Santa. It looks really weird and ugly right now, as well as this gray that I'm going to add. This is C1, and I'm going to put it everywhere that there is white on his hair for his beard, his mustache, and his eyebrows. And then I'm going to also use it on all the fur trim on his suit and hat. And as before, if you've seen my other videos, I typically start with the lightest colors. That's why I did the flesh first and now the whites. It always looks horrible in this state because these colors just look weird without having any other darker colors next to them. But I like to do the lighter colors first only because if I do the darker colors first and then the lighter, sometimes the lighter ink pulls the darker color into the area that you're trying to do light. So if I had a red hat right next to his face and I did the red hat and then did the flesh tone, it might pull some red into the facial area, and I don't like that. So I've just learned over time that for me anyway, the technique of doing your lightest first tends to work best. Now I'm going to do his suit. This is R29 and R24, the same red combination I've been using throughout the journal. These two colors work great together. They're just different enough that you can get some shadowing and also some indentations done where you need like clothing lines and things like that. You don't have to do a lot of blending, but it looks quite nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in. The darkest R29 here I'm using everywhere where there might be a shadow. And typically that's going to be where something else is in front of it. Then I'm going to start filling in with R24. And this is going to blend into the lines that I created with the darker R29, but it's not going to be such a blend that you can't still see that definition. I'm going to put a good coating of the red in here. And now you can see that the whites are looking pretty good and his face looks more normal too. I'm going to follow the packaging a little bit for his mittens. You see how they're striped and blue? I'm going to make them more black with C5 and C7. I like a more traditional black boot for the Santa, so that's what I'm going to stick with. But I do like the idea of adding some stripes into his mittens. That's kind of fun. So I'm going to do that after I get done with his belt and the boot part. So I'm filling in with the C5 and I use the C7 to do the outlining and to put in like the crease in his boots. And I will come back and do another coating of it all. Here I'm adding an outline and the squiggles for his mittens. I could have left it just white and black. That was really cute too, but I decided to put in R24 to finish coloring in his mittens. And that is, I think, a nice look also. I'm going to use Y17 for the metal belt buckle. And then I'm going to go back and do another coating of the C5 and then outline again with C7. Now I'm going to bring in R20. This is going to go into the breast of the bird, and E53 is the light brown of the bird. I'm going to use my chocolate twin tone to draw in his legs and also his beak and eye, just to give that a bit more definition. And R20 is also going to be used on the cheeks, the little tip of the nose, and his mouth. And Santa is done. Not hard at all. So now I'm going to use G02 and G05 to color in the fir tree or the Christmas tree here. I'm going to do that by outlining and putting in shadows using the darker G05 Once that's done, I'm going to also then fill it in with the G02. This is like the R24 and R29s. They're so close, yet not so close that they blend in completely together. I think it's a perfect shading or perfect pairing of the greens for a simple Copic coloring activity like this tree. I'm not going to do the base of the tree because I'm going to actually cut that off. I'm going to set the tree into some snow, and I'm using again that Y17 for the star. Now I'm going to bring in the P.H. Martin ink. This is the bleed proof white ink. It's so great, you guys, because it is opaque and none of the colors show through it. So you can put it even on the black of his boots, for example, and that black will not shine through it. It really is a great alternative to a white gel pen. And since I've started using this, I don't know that I will ever go back to a gel pen. I have always found the pens to be quite frustrating, actually, because you don't have the control with them, and they often are just not as dark white or as opaque white as I want. So that is not a problem at all with the bleed proof white. Okay, so now you can see that my tree is done. That was really quick as well. And now I'm going to do the ornament with the little mouse. This is going to be another separate page eventually. And I'm making the ornament red. I started by just outlining it with the R24, and then I decided eventually that I wanted it completely colored in. You'll see that later. I eventually filled in the whole edge with R24 and then went back with R29 to do just some outlining to give it a little more dimension. Initially, I used C1 for the pillow, and then I'm using B000 for the background for the mouse. This is going to be like a evening sky, almost like we have a outside in kind of look there, because I will add some snow coming in as well in the background. Now this is B21. I'm using it on the stripes of his hat. I'm also going to use it for his blanket. I will come back with C1 for the white sheet that is folded over the top of his blanket. Yeah, this image is just so sweet and cute. I love this little mouse in here, sleeping so snugly, holding on to his favorite miniature little bear. It's so adorable. All right, so then I'm going to finish adding all my white colors there. And here's where I'm going to go in and fill in the edging of the ornament with the red. And then do some darker shading around the edges. Very simple. This image also is very quick to color. So then we've got R20. I decided to put that on the pillow. Just the gray just blended in too much, I thought. And then we've got the Y17 on the top of the ornament. The chocolate twin tone is going to be the hanger part. And now I really only have left the face of the mouse and his little toy. So I'm going to use E11 for the main part of his face, and then E53 for the ears and his nose, and then E11 again as a second coat, just to darken up his face a bit more. And then E33 is what I'm going to use for the bulk of the teddy bear. I will bring in E24 for the little bow on his neck. I'm using E53 for the nose of the little teddy bear. And again, here's my red going in for his bow. I saw a little area that I needed to add E11 into there where the mouse face is. And then I finished up with a little C5 underneath the mouse where he was laying. Now I'm going to bring in the P.H. Martin ink again, and I'm going to put in a bunch of dots so it looks like stars in the background. It's such a cute little touch to this picture. I am really happy with how all three of these images turned out. I'm going to use some Nouveau drops. It's actually glitter drops, and I can't remember the color of this one, although I know I put it in the supply list, so if you want to check that link out, you'll find that in the video description as well. and I had a clog in it, so I kept having to unclog it with my pin in order to continue to use it. Eventually I got that clog out, but here you can see me stop several times and unclog the thing. I'm also putting it on the trim of Santa's hat and suit. It's just a thin coating to add a little bit of shine, and it really turned out nice. I love it on this little Santa suit. And as often the case, I decided to go back and add a little more white highlighting. In this case, I'm putting in a pattern in the mouse's blanket. I just thought it needed that, and it really did kind of finish it off. Okay, so now I'm going to make the background of the page where I'm going to hang the ornament and the mouse. This is a piece that I cut with the die in the template set. I also cut a piece of glitter using the border, and I stamped using the sentiment set and cut it as well with a flag from the new template set. So all these pieces were cut with the watercolor template set. All right, and this particular stamp and die set does come with the matching dies, so I did cut out those two pieces. I did do the holly sprig off camera. I decided to add that at the last minute, and this comes from the Christmas mice set from last year. So many cute images in here. The Peace on Earth sentiment is from the new sentiment set. There is so much to choose from in there. If you can't find what you want to add to your card for Christmas, I don't know what to tell you. It's kind of the one-stop shop. If you don't have any good sentiment sets for Christmas, pretty much this is going to cover it all for you. I can say that with certainty. I'm going to start by putting in a nighttime starry sky. To begin with, I will put in these stars, which are basically just simple crosses, and they look a little strange too at first when you put them in, but when you start adding the little dots to represent other stars, it starts to just really look right, and it feels good, and it will blend right in, and you get the definite idea right off the bat when you see those crosses in there that you're looking at a starry nighttime scene. You don't need to do that many of them, just a few will do the trick. In fact, if you add too many of them, I think it becomes distracting and not as natural feeling. So I was just taking a look there at what additional dots or stars I should add in. I decided to put one cross down there at the bottom, and we're getting close to having this page almost ready to go. I'm going to add some art glitter glue to the back of this, and I will squish it with my thumb because I don't want any glue to squish out of this image when I put it down on the paper. This is a metallic paper. It is gorgeous, but it is not good with glue. If glue gets on it, it kind of ruins the look of it. The sheen gets a little bit marred because of the glue sticking out, so I'm very careful whenever I glue anything on this beautiful metallic paper for that reason. I've already put double-sided foam tape on the Peace on Earth sentiment strip here, and I'm going to attach that as soon as I feel like it's centered. I did use blue ink for the Peace on Earth sentiment. I think in this case the blue fits really nicely. And then finally I'm going to put in a couple more dots. I just thought it looked a little blank here and there. And that's going to do it. This will finish my page and it'll be ready to put in my book. I did want to show you a little bit more of this cardstock. It's just so beautiful. See, when I'm moving it, you can see the glimmer in that background. Here I've added a sprig of holly. I just put a piece of double-sided foam tape behind that to give it a little more dimension. It really is a nice touch to the whole image and page. Now, as far as the cardstock, I did want to show it to you. It's lapis lazuli. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's Star Dream metallic cardstock from Cut Cardstock if you're interested in that. All right, so I'm off to the next page. This is Curious Metallic Cardstock in electric blue. It's a much brighter blue than the dark blue we were just working on. This is more similar to a beautiful blue winter sky, and I'm going to put in a whole bunch of white dots to begin with, which is going to signify snow. And I'm not going to make you watch me put all these dots in here, so we're going to quickly fast forward in a soft way to where I've put those dots over the entire piece. Now I've got a piece of white glitter cardstock that I cut to act as a snowy base to the page. It's like a little hill there. And this is going to be the backdrop then for my Santa and the evergreen tree. So here's that tree all dried up. You have to wait a while for the glitter glue to dry, but once it's done, I got a pretty nice dimensional look because I applied it so thickly. And it's shiny and white. It's really pretty. Now here we have Santa. I have put double-sided foam tape behind him, and I'm going to just overlap him a little bit over the tree. And I think he's just gorgeous. I love his red against that blue sky and the snow. And so it's ready now to put these in the book. We're almost done. So I'm going to have Santa on this page because he's looking in as opposed to looking out. And if you have characters, you kind of always want to try to have them looking inward rather than outward. It's just kind of a little scrapbooking trick I picked up years ago, and it is true. It's more natural and it's better feeling to the eye if you have the character looking in rather than out. It's as if they're looking at you, I guess, more than looking away from you. Here's the next page, same thing. We're just going to add some glue there and put it in. I just want to make sure with both of these that I'm staying away from the crease of the pages so I don't get the crease caught in my background paper. But that does it. Isn't this gorgeous? This beautiful little holder for my gift card, Santa, and this nighttime scene with the little mouse dreaming of a white Christmas. I just have 5 pages left in this book, so I think that will take another 2 videos. So I hope you'll hang in there with me as I finish this project up. And we've had such a good time so far. I'm really going to be kind of sad when it's over. I guess I'll just have to start creating a new journal with a different theme, and that'll be fun to do. One thing I've noticed here is as I've added pages, it's become more substantial, a little heavier, and a little more solid. So that's all good as well. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed seeing 3 more pages of my Christmas journal. I'll be back again next Friday with 3 more pages. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful week and keep on crafting, everybody. Bye.